It's going to sound horrible, and it was funny because I was in the theater thinking about it. I was actually thinking, I wonder how Kevin mocked that up and got it passed. Well, I would say, in my experience, and I don't know what Kevin's will tell you, mine first is generally the relationship with the confidence. You have to build a confidence with the people that you're working with. And first time, like Chris was joking, first time directors are harder. And
you only get one shot with them.
And you only get one shot. And then the other thing is that sometimes you will leave some of that stuff out, literally leave it out, and because what they don't hear, if they don't have the sophistication to understand that what you're mocking up is going to be good with the live orchestra, you don't give it to them, because so much of what the director or the producer is listening to with your mock-ups is really not the intricacies of your orchestration. It's really the emotional impact that the cue is having and how it is working with the scene. So the priority, and you can deal with all the other stuff with your orchestrator. You can mock it up quietly and never even play for the producer, just so the orchestrator sees it.
Maybe just play with them with dialogue or something.
Well, they hear that. Well, every guy is different.
Yeah, some of them want the music way up. Some of them you got to take it way down and stuff, right?
There's no.
Well, they always play my music really loud.
No, but I just want to interject something. But that is exactly why I created this thing. Is because it won't sound the way it's supposed to sound. You do have to turn a knob, though. All right.
Right.
All right.
So
you can't feed your mind.
You have to get a little deeper into it in order to make it articulate that way.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree. I mean, it is set up to go out of the box. You can play it just about every style. But if you want it to be a little bit harder, you go over to the attack thing. What I tried to do is set up so it looked and smelled like a synthesizer when you went to use it, and it looked and felt like a tape recorder when you went to record it on your sequencer. Simple.
Right.
So yeah, if you want more attack, go to the attack knob that says attack on it. You want it to be more slurred, go to the release knob, just like a synthesizer. Think of it as a synthesizer while you're playing, and that's how you use it. It says glissando. You want things to have more slur to it. There you go. So yeah, you do have to do that much, but you don't have to go there and load it. Anyway, the bottom line is just to guard against composers' mock-ups being rejected and their work being rejected because the samples couldn't handle it.
Right. But there still is, and I mean, I use the AI strings. I'm like the first person on the planet who bought it, and really, because I saw it, I heard it at NAMM, and I just said, this is what I want. One of the great things about the AI strings is the transparency, especially as you start to play more notes, and because you can. Yeah, it's just like, it doesn't sound like a wall of stuff, when you're doing this. It sounds, you can hear vibrato on different instruments. The violas kind of cut through every once in a while. So I'm a huge fan of the AI strings, and I even brought a couple things that I did. But I also, there are just certain articulations that I personally believe no synthesizer is ever going to accomplish. At least maybe in our lifetime, or at least in the next 10 years, because I'm going to retire in 10 years. So, and so I actually am I layer all my stuff when I can with real guys, and it can be a really small group. It can be like 4 fiddles. So if you write that line and it sounds pretty dang good, on the AI strings, but you write it, it's pretty exposed. It's pretty high. It's like a lot of stuff that's. And you don't want it to be like that. It's really hard for a synth to do that in any way. And the Vienna, I'll use the Vienna to kind of mock up the performance tool, which is the the intervals and stuff, and it still is not good enough for me. So you get 4 cats in your studio if you can, or in another studio. The small studios are not that expensive these days. Now, this is saying that you've got at least some kind of a budget to use that, but I'm a real believer in putting a few live cats. That's like 1 trumpet player, you can do that. 4 violins, never 2. 1 violin, maybe even 3. Something like that. A French horn player. Those are the 3. you know, those are the fiddle section. Just because your ear goes to the highest note usually, and that's what you hear is because I mean I've done stuff with AI where I have no problem with the cellos, the basses, the violas, and all of a sudden I'm doing this string line and it's just like, man, it's not quite. And I add like 4 cats, and you know, maybe you double them or triple them or whatever, and they sound like crap if you listen to them alone too, because it's 4 guys and they kind of sound like they played the exact same thing on the same violin, which is what they did, right? And so they sound really bad if you solo them, but if you merge that, I'm a huge fan of doing that.
You're doing that on your episodic?
I am.
Where do you find the time to do that?
It's a bitch, you know, and I mean I could go into that, but that's a real drag because it's a whole day of a recording session.
Yeah, it's giving up all
and it's also sending parts out to a copyist, and then the copyist sends a score back to me, and then I mark it up because he's not always getting it right, you know, as far as articulation. and
That's
stuff like
changing,
that.
by the way. You know, we're in another few months.
What happens if you get fixes?
You know,
Kevin doesn't get fixes.
actually, you know, it's a funny. I'll just tell you the process with George is that the fixes come after I recorded the whole damn show.
That's exactly what I'm asking.
Right. We will go because we're doing an episode every 2 weeks. If the fix is like major, then we'll go back in for our next episode and we'll say we have to do one from the previous episode because George changed this and he didn't like my violin line or whatever it was he didn't like. Most of the time, I can fix it with MIDI. Almost all the time. And that's another good thing is because I got these live cats on. So your ear goes to all the live cats that are playing trumpets. You know, this is my setup. I use 6 violins, 2 trumpets, 2 French horns. I do them all in separate sessions. I only have 3 trumpets play. So the second pass, it's only 3rd trumpet. So one guy's laying out because I want it to be like an orchestra, right? I sometimes layer those with like maybe the Vienna, maybe the East-West, maybe the sonic implants or something like that. Because sometimes I have a very small room. It's about this big actually, a higher ceiling. So, you know, I want it to sound like a hall. So I'll use the East-West. It's got the big ring out on the trumpets if I want it to sound bombastic. But anyhow, and same thing with French horns. Well, I do 4 French horns, so I do 2 passes. I write 2 parts. The violins, I almost always write 3-part divisis because really the 3rd violin is doing a viola part because I don't have any violas. But my point was, and then I layer them 3 times, so I have 18 violins, sort of. But I'm always layering them like with the AI strings or with some other, you know, and the cellos are like totally synth. The basses, the violas usually, except for, you know, that low violin line. The thing is if you get a really bad fix, and your cue sounds pretty realistic because you got all these real guys, you can just go in and all of a sudden go timpanis, bum 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 bum. Blah. There, I fixed that section.
But it's true.
Yeah.
It's all about attention and distraction.
Right, and then
exactly.
and then you got the real guys coming back in and stuff.
Thank God for the scrape cymbal, huh?
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.